Morning.
So welcome to Summit. We're obviously very excited to have you here. You've had an amazing career and a long-lasting career. I read that you knew by 14 that you wanted to be an actor. Is that true? And what attracted you to acting?
Well, what attracted me to acting was the attention. I wasn't distinguishing myself at very many of my other activities in my early school years. I found, if I did a school play or I dressed up in a costume, and basically the exhibitionist side of myself was somehow nurtured, it seemed I would get rewarded for that. So that was the appeal. I was doing drama workshops and things like that at around the age of 14, and it suddenly hit me, why not do it? It never occurred to me that in the real world people choose that as a profession. There's nobody in my family would have thought of it, nobody I was at school with had thought of it. It was something other fortunate people do that it didn't apply to me. One day I just thought, what if it applies to me? I did not like waking up in the morning and thinking about what I had ahead of me today, if it was chemistry, physics, math. And I thought if I'd wake up every morning of my life thinking I'm doing that, or at least even if I'm washing dishes in a restaurant, hoping to do that, then that looked like a better prospect. So at 14, that's when I announced that was my intention. It was probably more an excuse to go to my chemistry class and be bad at it. I don't need this, I'm going to do that.
And so it's clearly worked out for you. So you've been in a very wide range of film. We were talking a little bit backstage, from obviously Pride and Prejudice, The King's Speech, Bridget Jones, Mamma Mia. So how do you choose? These are very, wide spectrum of work. How do you choose what you're going to take on?
There's no master plan. It tends to be how I feel on that particular morning. I sometimes get chills thinking how different my life would have been if I'd said no that day instead of yes, or vice versa, because there are a series of forking paths, and a yes or no on a given morning will send you off maybe to some other country for months, and you will meet new people, and your life will change every time. That appeals to me. I don't like seeing, I would never go to a medium and have my palm read and have it, I don't want to know what's next. So it appeals to me that I'm rolling the dice every time, and that you get rewired for that as you go along as well. I'm not a person who's made for long professional commitments.
Interesting. Okay. So you would do a very deep drama and then you wouldn't say, I'm ready for a comedy now. It all depends on the script.
Well, there's a bit of that, but that's moment to moment too. So now I've just done the deep drama, now I'm ready to
dance.
I try not to inflict that on anybody. What I do in my bedroom is my business. So the dancing, the singing is, I try to keep it to the shower.
But you did sing in Mamma Mia.
Well, thank you for calling it that. I made my attempt.
It was shocking to see.
Yes. Yeah.
In a good way.
In some way, yes, I think it probably was.
So, do you have a favorite role?
For years, I just could not answer that question because I don't look back on what I've done so much in terms of the result, but it's the experience. Obviously that is, a film, you make a 90-minute film, but you'll have spent 2 or 3 months making it. And so that is a bigger part of one's own relationship with it than the 90 minutes. Obviously we want to make something good, that's what it's all for. But still what abides is the memory of making it. And so sometimes I've had a wonderful time making it, and nobody has had a wonderful time watching it.
Can you give me an example?
No. No, because if I name a film which I think everybody hates, then
Oh.
it goes on the record. No, I mean, you don't get it right every time. Sometimes it all comes together. One of my best experiences was Mamma Mia.
Yeah. Well, it looked fun.
And if you go and you appreciate the experience and you make friends, no one can take that away. Even if the critics hate it and no one goes to see it, you've still got that.
What did you like about it?
Well, that was, the friendships came out of it.
And you got to be in Greece.
Yes, I got to be in Pinewood Studios in the rain for most of it. But Greece was a part of it, and so it was basically a free holiday. I didn't feel, if we dare go back to the subject of singing and dancing, I did try my best on the dancing front, but the editor kindly relieved everybody of that particular, my contribution there. So you don't really see any of that. I actually do love singing, for better or worse. I don't say.
Feel free at any
No, I don't love singing in public very much. But no, it was just it was a good time. I mean, it was Greece.
And you see it in the film, you feel that it was a good time.
Well, there's a silliness about the whole thing which is quite liberating. You know, we were not trying to change the world. We just wanted to entertain people on a big scale. And there's something, I think, very satisfying and very important, actually, about putting your snobbery aside and saying, this is something which is common to everybody. I mean, you take ABBA, and people, certainly people of my generation, lived through ABBA. And they either loved it, or they are survivors of it. But it doesn't really matter. It was playing somewhere.
Yeah.
It's whatever was happening in your life, whether you were doing your exams or being, dumped by your first girlfriend, ABBA was playing. So we all shared the ABBA thing. And so it does have a way of bringing people together. And to go to see premieres around Europe and see people sitting there skeptically, resisting the whole thing. And then about 20 minutes into the film, you'd see the shoulders start to go. And then everyone will be on their feet at the end. And, it's not Wagner or high art or something, but it has that effect. It's not an easy thing to achieve.
It's joyful. Yeah. It's a very joyful film.
No, the single best, for me, I now have a clear favorite. It's Single Man.
And I would echo that. I think that's a fantastic film, and I love Tom Ford.
Well, thank you.
Live for Tom Ford.
Thank you. But that both in terms of experience and the future. I've only seen it once, and I don't really want to go back there because I like to just keep the memory of doing it alive.
Beautiful. Okay, so King George VI in the King's Speech. How on earth did you prepare for that? How did you transform yourself into that character magnificently?
Well, obviously, I didn't want him to be simply defined by the fact that he has a stamp. So in a lot of ways, I think it emerged through my relationship with Jeffrey Rush. We did an awful lot of work on it in terms of, adjusting some of the script and the dialogue, and making sure that there was a lot of humor. I think if you're telling a story which is largely to do with somebody's anguish, you don't just want to indulge anguish. You can't. I don't think it communicates effectively if you simply dwell on misery. So I think there was a way of lightening it and drawing attention to the affection between these two men and giving it a lightness that actually flatters the characters. It was suggestive of their intelligence, and I think made it more watchable. I think one of the fears that we had, and certainly that the director had, if you're having to present a character who has debilitating difficulty in communicating. If you make the difficulty impossible to watch, you'll alienate your audience. You will just make people uncomfortable. But you need to, because you need to be truthful about what it is. So you can't scale it down to a point where the stakes have gone. The guy doesn't have a big challenge really after all. So you have to find a middle ground where you were truthful about the obstacle that's in this man's way, without making it impossible. So it was actually very technical, and then you have to find a way to achieve the stammer itself. There are a lot of people, there are experts, there are people who will help people manage their stammer, but there's nobody there to train you how to stammer. And there aren't any books on that, and so you have to find a way for yourself, because this is true of any acting exercise. You can't be seen to try to stammer. You also can't be seen to try to be sad. You can't be seen to try to be angry. You have to be seen to really do it, to have that in you. And then what you display is the attempt to fight it. So I had to find a technique that almost made it entirely real, so that all I was acting was the battle with it. But also the director orchestrated it. He said, I want you to stammer on every single line. Excuse me, which I had not planned. It was exhausting. And he said, we have to see that it's a struggle every time you speak.
Wow.
It was quite helpful once or twice because we were rewriting lines. And there were times it was hard to remember what we'd just rewritten. And so I had plenty of time to remember the next line. I would just stammer until it came to me.
Yes. Wow. Well, obviously it was incredible, and you won an Academy Award, so you got recognized for the incredible work. So maybe let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about transformation of another sort. So a lot of the people here are working in industries that are undergoing massive transformation, whether it's the media industry, the retail industry, automotive industry, and the film industry has changed obviously a lot since you started out. And I think technology and digital have had a very large impact, certainly on production and on distribution. But what changes have you noticed since you began working in the industry?
So far I feel quite insulated from it, really. I think the short answer is very little has changed from where I stand. I expected it to be enormous, and I knew everything was going digital, and it all seemed to happen quite suddenly. I knew it was coming. And then suddenly it was as if, shooting on celluloid was going to be a thing of the past. Being on a film set will now surely be a completely different experience. It's not. It all looks much the same. The crew are much the same as they were.
Still humans.
They're still humans. The lamps are still being used. You notice minor differences, and some of them are very helpful. If you're not reloading a 35mm film every 10 minutes or something, you save time. You can keep rolling, and that is very, very helpful. I've noticed difference in the way the sound is. That is actually unhelpful for an actor. They now wire you up body mics. They used to apologize for having to resort to that back in the 80s. Things were on the boom, and that's for technical reasons I don't understand about sound now. In the post-production period, when you're doing you're looping the film, there's some of the sound editors and engineers are far more particular about which tracks are used in which way, for reasons that are scientifically somewhat beyond me. But then again, you can get away now with, if I'm filming on the other side of the world and they're putting the mix on the film here, use your iPhone. And it's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, they ask you to get in, go in a dead room like a cupboard or your car or something. It's good. And then sometimes it'll go into the movie. The guys who are very particular about this, one guy explained to me that it would be fine, but the trouble is that because of, I'm sure everyone in this room knows more about this than I do, but something about the frequency that it's on means that if this film gets distributed in the future on a different platform, that particular line may actually get lost or sound completely different, depending on how it's reproduced later. For now, it's fine, but personally, I don't care. But these are pretty much in the margins, from my perspective. You still stand in front of the camera, you still stand by it the same way, they still put the slate on, and it is very much the same. I've expected it to be more difficult, because you can shoot a whole movie on an iPhone now.
Exactly, and you can watch a whole movie on an iPhone.
You can see, the whole thing can never leave the iPhone. And that's fine, and I have shot an entire movie on a DV camera, and it looked exquisite.
Really?
Yeah, it wasn't even HD, it was a camera this big, there were no lights, there were no continuity people. This is a director called Michael Winterbottom, who is fairly sort of, he's maverick in that way. And the amount of freedom it gave us was extraordinary, because there is no setup. He didn't even want a continuity person on the set, and he was rolling camera from the moment you walk on.
Yeah.
He never said action, he never said cut. And the way he likes to make a film is that if I, on a whim, in the middle of a scene in the kitchen, decide I'm going to walk out of the room, out into the street, get on the bus, they'll just follow with the camera.
Yeah.
You cannot do that.
It's like a reality show.
Well, and you can't do it if it's a period drama and none of the people in the street are dressed like you.
Yeah.
And you can't do it if you've got lights or something, but I mean, and in that convention it was possible.
Yeah, Mr. Darcy would never do that. Yeah.
Well, no, you would suddenly, you look like you're on the way to, open a supermarket or something, or go to a kids' party.
So the viewing experience has changed tremendously. And people are watching on iPhones, and they are watching on tablets. If you go on the plane, everybody's watching something different, and 3D is prevalent. Although we talked about some people are kind of boycotting 3D. How do you think the ideal viewing experience? What's your ideal viewing experience?
I don't care how anybody watches something. I'm not against any of it. The plane isn't a great place, so unfortunately that's where I just end up seeing a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I love going through a TV series or a box set. I love even on a laptop.
Yeah. Do you binge watch?
Yep.
Yeah. Like how many can you deal with in one night? One at a time?
I feel like we're in a support group now or something.
The binge watch support group. But do you watch alone? Yeah.
Probably.
Why do you watch alone?
Probably 4.
Wow.
Before I go queasy, but they're different lengths. I mean, some maybe just 35 minutes or something.
Yeah.
I think I've probably managed to get through 4.
Yeah.
I know people will do more than that and then genuinely feel they need to detox or something.
Why do you like to watch alone?
Why do I like to watch it? Oh, I think it's an unwind. It's a cut-off. It's a kind of, owning your own thing. It's, you're not answerable to anybody. There's no responsibility. It's vacuous. I stopped watching television for decades, actually. And it's started to feel a little austere after a while. I made a conscious decision a few years ago to do something meaningless. I've always been afraid that I'm fundamentally lazy and lethargic, so my life has largely been a battle against that. And then I thought I've overdone it. I need to just have
Fun.
give myself to a vacuous experience. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. There's no self-improvement involved. It doesn't benefit me or anybody else. It's just.
That's good. Good.
No, I think to answer your question, the ideal, I think gathering in a room like this,
Yeah.
watch something is irreplaceable. I think it will never ever go away. We all thought VHS was going to be the end of cinema. It wasn't, and it's not because of the platform or the format. It's not because of size of screen. It's because I think people will always want to congregate.
I hope so. Yeah. So the fate of a movie today can be decided by the public, by social media, by Rotten Tomatoes. How does that feel?
I suppose that we don't quite know how this all is going to pan out, I think. Because now there are very, very well-oiled machines for manipulating that. As we know, and it's to do with news and elections and marketing anything. And once people see that that's something to be harnessed, then it starts to have people who can benefit from controlling it. And so I think we're seeing an awareness of that now, and the need for safe editorial space, whether it's to do with work, whether it's critics and the arts, whether it's news, whether it's politics, or anything in public life. So I don't really, we're at a point where our perception is changing almost daily of the pros and cons of all that. The simple view of it, I suppose, is isn't it wonderful that opinions are being democratized? It's Are opinions really being freely expressed? Are people expressing opinions thoughtfully? We were talking earlier about the revival of the mob. This idea of public shaming.
People piling on.
People stampede, yes, and this was judged as uncivilized in the 19th century. We don't parade people through the streets to humiliate them anymore, but now, Twitter will do it. And so you have that. Now, I think it's great. I love the idea that the critics I dislike most no longer have all 1 hour. But on the other hand, I do think that some idea of somebody who is accountable as a continuous reference point and who is educated can be there to be referred to. So, and the critics haven't lost all their power. It's very interesting. I mean, a film I did a couple of years ago called Kingsman, where they did make use of public opinion. They did a one-day release of the film with no press in various cities, and just let people go, knowing that social media would set the rumor mill going. And it was very positive, and it was a manipulation in a way, because the people who were in that room felt privileged to be in that room, and the first ones to be able to put the news out there, which I think encouraged them to make it good news. It has to be good news. I was there. And I think there was a wave after that where it landed with the professional critics that went, aha, right, you lot all like it, the unwashed, the uninformed. And now we're going to give you our professional opinion, and which is going to be a little loftier, a little more skeptical. Now, that's a very reductive picture of it all, but I think it is a sign of the kind of the tension between, that careful editorialized space and the wider.
So I read a great quote from you in which you said, "I would rather 5 people knew my work and thought it was good rather than 5 million knew me and were indifferent."
Well, I'd like to make a little more than 5. Well, yeah, I mean, it's because I think what we're looking for is, you want to be loved, you want to be praised, you want everyone to pat you on the back, good job. From being a small kid at school, we want to feel like we've got it right. And so I understand and would completely admit to the desire for approval. There would be nothing worse than doing a job you're just bad at and everybody thinking you're bad at. Fame without that is horrendous. I mean, it's just everybody knows you, it's a mediocrity. I'd rather be completely anonymous than known for, in a way that with complete indifference or something. And then just being known by itself, I think, there's nothing good about it. I mean, there is nothing good about it. I think when people crave fame, they're probably craving approval or attention, or they think it's going to make them loved or something. Just having everybody point at you or take a picture doesn't deliver anything into your life. It's just a pain. So what you want is, I mean, there's no modesty in that. I mean, my ego is pretty greedy for approval, but not just to be known. I mean, I was talking to one of my youngest son who it was kind of winding me up a little bit about, it started off with me because we play football together a lot, and I said, do you think I'm better as a defender? No. Or something better in midfield? No. Do you think I'm good at football? No. At all? Cricket, do you think? No. All right. Well, what am I a good actor? No. What am I good at? Having random people know you. No, all right.
This is your son. Your son
I
is
know.
never going to say
I didn't take it very seriously, but I actually thought, my God, anybody who actually seeks to have random people know them, I think is probably looking for the wrong thing.
Yeah. So what's next for you? What are you working on now?
Okay. It's a few things have come together at the same time. I am this afternoon going to do my last scene on the Mary Poppins sequel, which has been thrilling.
You're not playing Mary Poppins.
No, I auditioned, but it's only because of the singing voice. No, Emily Blunt is playing Mary Poppins. I think I'll put it out. I think it's going to be wonderful. One of the highlights of my life was working with Dick Van Dyke. Came for a day on the movie, so to work with him in a Mary Poppins context and to find him at 91 years old to be utterly delightful, and he was on the table with the legs sticking out, something else. So absolutely wonderful. And at the same time, I'm doing a movie about there's a wonderful director, a Danish director called Thomas Winterberg. And we're doing a film about it's a true story about a submarine disaster. There was a Russian submarine called the Kursk, which there was an explosion and it sank in the Barents Sea in the year 2000. And basically there were a lot of sailors trapped on that submarine for days. Wow. And for political reasons, it was impossible to rescue them. So it's different from Mary Poppins.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you go to one set to the next?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Confusing.
You have a big drink on the way from Mary Poppins to the submarine?
That solves it, yeah.
Okay, well, we're out of time. I'm very sad about this, but can we do just a quick word assessment?
We can try. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to give you a word, and you're going to try and give me one word back.
Oh, is it one word?
Yeah, if you can.
I'll try.
You can do it?
It might, probably not.
Okay, well, let's try. Let's try. Fame.
Selfies.
London.
Oh. Hope.
Photoshop.
Kardashian.
Very good. Darcy?
Matthew McFadden. Sorry, that's 2 words, I know. You played it in the movie. It's very good.
Colin Firth.
School exercise book, 3 words. I see my name always when I hear the words Colin
Like when
Firth.
you were a little boy?
Yeah, it's the name that was written on all the books, and that's, yeah.
That's sweet. All right, thank you so much.
All right.
It's lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.